stage. All my humans at. This is gonna be a big panel. Everyone woke up on a Saturday to be here, y'all. This is 84 people, 85 people, 86. They're showing up. 89, 90. Look at this, amazing. Whoa, and all the way from Denmark. What time is it in Denmark? What, like 7? Is that right? 8, that's close. I haven't traveled for 3 years, so my time zone abilities have been slightly altered. We're waiting on Vanessa, right? Hello from Mexico. Cool.
Allison, so Vanessa and one of our other artists had to back out, so they won't be here, but there's plenty of us from.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is like half of DreamWorks right here. So I will do a quick intro and get this party started. So I'm Allison Mann. I'm one of the co-founders of the Brick Foundation. I'm here to welcome DreamWorks Animation, where they'll be talking about careers in animation. So this is a wonderful time to be in animation. While many live action films and shows were halted during COVID, animation boomed. Yeah, we did, and expanded to explore different themes and genres. There are a multitude of stable jobs across art, production, and tech. And our partners at DreamWorks Animation, who you see here, who are so amazing to join us on a Saturday, are here to share with you the different roles at their studios, what their jobs are, how they got them, and what a viable path is for students. And maybe even people who don't decide to go to school. So many different career pathways. So who's going to be, Robbie, are you going to be kicking us all off?
Yeah, happy to.
Yay. So I'm here to introduce Rabia, who I've known for, I don't even know how long now. We worked together at Disney Interactive, like, I don't know, it feels like a decade ago, but we look exactly the same. It's that age-defining wrinkle cream. It's really working for us. But thank you, DreamWorks. Thank you, everybody, for being here. And on to you, Rabia.
Thank you, Allison. So I'm using a different laptop today, and the webcam is at the bottom of the screen, and it's so weird. I'm trying to get used to it. So sorry if you see me like moving this laptop around. But anyways, hi everyone. My name is Rabia Abedin. I'm on the recruiting team for DreamWorks Animation, and there's a couple of us from the recruiting team here today, as well as an artist and another dream worker from our training department. And so we're really, really happy to join you. And thank you so much for joining us on this Saturday morning. But really quickly, I will just introduce myself and then popcorn it over to another person on the team. But I have been with DreamWorks Animation for about a little over 3 years now, but in the entertainment world for a little over 10 years. I started my journey at Disney. So with Allison was on my team many, many moons ago. Seems like a different lifetime. But I've been within human resources and talent acquisition specifically. So currently what I do at DreamWorks is lead a team called Early Career Programs and Diversity Outreach. And we have a really fun job of overseeing the talent development programs at our studio. So that includes the internship program and our artistic trainee program. And most recently, we announced a new HBCU fellowship program. So we're constantly growing our opportunities. But my team works very closely with students. We go to schools, we do a lot of presentations, we give a lot of feedback on portfolio reviews, and you'll find us at a lot of animation industry specific conferences and events. So we'll always kind of be there sharing our knowledge and trying to help people get placed at our studio and our opportunities. So I will popcorn it over to Eileen, who's also on my team. And she can tell you a little bit more about herself.
Thank you, Rabia. Hi, everyone. Super excited to be here. A little bit about my background. I've been with DreamWorks for almost 3 years now, and My journey is a little different in that DreamWorks has been my official job out of college. So DreamWorks has been kind of like my home. And I actually did not have a background in entertainment. I had a psychology degree and a criminology degree. It's totally different. But I was able to really highlight my transferable skills and land a job at DreamWorks, and it's been amazing ever since. As Rabia mentioned, all the amazing things that we do on the team. So I am a specialist on the early careers team. So I help support the internship program, the artistic training program, all of the outreach we do. And as Rabia said, it is a lot of fun. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. And with that, I'm gonna pass it on to Natalie. Are you not able to unmute, Natalie? Okay.
There we go.
You're muted.
Okay, yes. Well, thank you so much for that introduction, Eileen. Hi, everyone. My name is Natalie Herrera. My background is way different. I taught for many years. So I taught here in Los Angeles, San Jose, New York, Dominican Republic, and Spain. So I was a teacher. But I really, really loved hearing my students' stories. I taught Spanish and ESL, which is English for second language learners. And hearing those stories and really wanting to do something with them, I decided to switch gears and move into a career that was going to lead me hopefully into a creative field. So I'm very recent to DreamWorks. I'm about 5 months in, and I'm the training coordinator right now for the DreamWorks training department. And that has allowed me to meet artists as well as see what aspects we can help those artists, whether it's with software or there's a particular skill that's going to be used. So I get to see that. And it's really, really important, I believe, to have a training department, because something that you learn as you grow is that we should all have a growth mindset, meaning if you learn something that is not the end of your journey, there's always something to learn. And you master something, but why not master something else as well? So I feel really, really lucky being in my department, getting to know my team. And with that, I am going to go ahead and pass this on to Peter.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Good morning. Nice to see all of you. I was just in the previous meeting and Janelle was she's a teacher from the high school I went to. That's really cool. It was really inspiring to hear that. My path to animation actually started a little bit after high school. I've always drawn. Animation was not what I wanted to get into, but through a friend of mine who was into animation, somebody that I knew from junior high school, when I was 19, he taught me about how animation works, and that's what he was interested in. And he introduced me to a mentor of his who worked at Disney. This was a mentor that we had, who, out of the kindness of his heart and without having to ever pay him any penny, anything, he taught us once a week for as long as it took to make us hireable. And my first job in animation was the goal that I wanted, which was to become a layout artist at Walt Disney. And I did that in 1999. And then I went over into DreamWorks as a visual development artist in 2003, and I've been there ever since. And it's been pretty fun. I didn't go to school for this. I was at community college for just a little bit, and I left to follow this man who was willing to teach me. And yeah, and it hasn't, not having to go to school really didn't matter. But yeah, that's been my path. So I've been at DreamWorks for a little while.
I'll jump in.
Might pass it on. We were talking about popcorn.
Hi, good morning or good evening, wherever you're calling in from. My name is Alexis, and I am a fellow manager on the recruitment team with Rabia. I oversee all of our hires after the early career phase. So anyone who's going on to feature animation or TV animation falls in my world. And so I've been in animation for almost 5 years now. I got my start at Walt Disney Animation as an artist manager. So I got very familiar with all of the departments and artistic skill sets in that job. And then I came over to DreamWorks about a year ago and have loved it. And there's so many opportunities right now. So I'm glad y'all have called in to this. And I'll hand it over to Jillian.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jillian. I'm an artistic recruiter here at DreamWorks, and I've been in animation now for over 10 years, but only been in recruiting for a little over a month. So speaking of, like Natalie was saying, growing and trying new things, I am at one of those points where I had done production management for a decade and went, I'm ready for a new challenge. And so you guys are my first time that I'm coming to one of these events. So thanks for being part of that growth for me.
So thanks, everyone. So I would just kind of love to get a feel for who's in the room. I know there's a lot of people here, and we heard that there's going to be students and teachers and educators and et cetera. So if you can please just drop in the chat so we have an idea of who we're talking to and kind of cater what you want to hear that way. And also please feel free to put in your questions in the chat as well, because we want to make sure that this next hour is the most meaningful and you get as much information out of it as possible. So I see a lot of students, awesome, seniors about to graduate. Early congrats to you all. Some high schoolers, awesome. I love that you all are here. Thank you so much for coming. Awesome. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the opportunities that we have at our studio. So like I mentioned, there are what we call early career programs, and it's really meant for people who are early in their career. So that is, college level students, recent graduates, anyone who's really within that 5-year out of school window, out of college or university. Our programs are awesome in that we are very inclusive. You don't have to have a 4-year degree to become an intern or to become an artist at our studio. You don't have to have majored in a certain, illustration or animation or anything like that. You can really come from any background. And you don't even have to be an artist to work at the studio. So as you heard, there's a lot of us here who either are artists or aren't, and we had different pathways in how we got into the studio. I myself personally am not an artist. I went to UC Irvine and majored in English and business management and never thought I'd be working in the animation industry, and here I am, and I absolutely love it. It's an amazing industry to be in with the nicest, most creative people you could imagine. And so we're happy to answer questions about the opportunities that we have, but really quickly, I do want to go over what does that look like for in the early career space, since a lot of you sounds like our students. So we have internship programs available really to anyone who is about to graduate high school. You can, at that point, you can apply. All years and levels can apply. All majors can apply. We have opportunities not only on the artistic side in some of our artistic departments doing, FX, CFX, animation, etc. But we have internship opportunities. A lot of them are in production. So Jillian here is a great example of somebody who built a lot of her career in production. So if you have any questions, I'm sure Jillian, you can answer a lot of those things about, the production pipeline and production management. And it's a really, really amazing career path. A lot of our interns go into production. They find that they absolutely love it, and they graduate and they start to build their career in that area. Or they're actually an artist, they start in production and then they go on to apply for a role in storyboarding or visual development. We also have opportunities in other departments. So development, if you're interested in how does a studio come to decide what shows get streamed on Netflix, or what movies are going to be, what's going to be our next franchise. Development, it would be a great place for you. We also have opportunities in other departments. So training. So like Natalie's department, if you're interested in that space, if you're interested in HR, we have a talent acquisition internship coming up on my team. We have opportunities in finance, accounting, legal, marketing. So again, you really do not have to be an artist to work at our studio, which is awesome. Our internships and a lot of our opportunities are remote opportunities currently. And the opportunities can be found on our website. So I think somebody had linked it up here in the chat. So if you want to learn more, it's dreamworks.com. And dreamworks.com/careers is where you can learn more about the job opportunities that we have. Eileen, am I missing anything? Anything you want to add here?
I think we've covered a lot of it. Maybe, I mean, I'm biased. I think our internship program is so amazing, and there's so many, I feel like there's, especially when Natalie mentioned it and in the chat, there's this conversation about growth. So that's really what our internship, our early career programs is about. It's about having everyone grow, explore different things. Sometimes there's folks who come in thinking they want to, pursue a certain path, and then they get exposed to something they didn't even know existed, and then they start pursuing that. So yeah, Ravi, I think you covered it all. I do want to mention that in addition to our early career programs, we also have a summer speaker series, which I hope many of you have attended in the past, but that's another great way to kind of gain insight into what it's like to work in the animation industry or at DreamWorks as well. So just wanted to quickly plug that in.
There's been a few questions that have come through around how many interns we pick each year. Do y'all want to dive into kind of that area of it?
Yeah, so we have internships all year round, and we kind of mirror the academic calendar. So in the spring, we have internships, in the summer, and then fall. In any given year, we'll have about 100 or so interns come through our doors. Every season, though, so looking at it more specifically, we'll hire between, I'd say, around 30 is kind of the average, with summer being the largest season, because as you can imagine, a lot of you may be out of school, you're looking for that internship, and so summer is kind of our biggest program, but in the spring and fall, they are very robust programs as well. So yeah. I see some other questions coming in about like, what does the day look like, the day-to-day of a life of a production intern. Jillian, I'm not sure, have you ever had an intern on one of the shows that you were on before?
I did. I had an intern when I was on Trolls World Tour. And I helped manage the story and editorial departments, and our intern got to have a week with each department. So I had that intern for a week in story and editorial, but then she also would travel each week to other departments and get to have a quick peek into all the different departments, which I think is great, because then you get to, each department has its own personality, and getting a quick peek into that is such a good big picture.
Yeah. Can you go over briefly, like very high level, what the departments look like in the future pipeline?
Yeah, I can try my best. So the one I know best is story and editorial. That's the one that's basically on the movie from start to finish. It starts with the storyboard artists boarding out the movie, and we do that 3 or 4 times, making the whole movie in storyboards, sending it to editorial, watching it with the directors, getting all the notes, and then doing it again. And then you do another screening of boards, and then you get more notes, and then you do it again. And then we go, okay, it's time to start making this movie. And all while that's happening, the art and asset departments are moving towards starting to create some of the world that we're starting to build, because we will be watching, the storyboards, and we go, well, we know this scene is going to take place in this kitchen. The story might change, but we definitely need a kitchen. So at the same time, art and assets are starting to build all of those things. And then once things start to solidify in story, we'll move forward into layout, which is the department that's really starting with camera and build. I said, when I'm explaining it to my family who doesn't know any of what I do, I say it's, storyboard is a flip book, and then when it starts to look like an animated movie and it's, computers have done something, that's layout. It's now in the computer. And then after layout, and also Peter, jump in if I'm missing something.
I'm gonna go back before we move on to shots. So we have kind of, if for anyone who's in school, this will feel really familiar, but for anyone who's not with the industry, we kind of break our productions into front end and back end. So Jillian mentioned assets. So that's, if you think of all the characters and the room or any environment starts off completely blank, we have people that come in and we'll model everything. So we have modelers who are basically like our 3D sculptors in the computer. And then we have what DreamWorks calls surfacers. There's other titles for that throughout the industry. But they're coming in and there are painters. So they're taking everything from the visual development department, that concept art that's been created, and making it come to life in the 3D space. And then we kind of move into what Jillian was going into with the more back-end departments. So we have layout, but then you also have to build the skeletons of all the characters. So that's where rigging comes in. So any riggers out there, please find me on LinkedIn. We're needing some rigging help right now. And then we have, Jillian, you can take the ball back if you want at any point, but so we have layout who are doing the camera movements. Peter is the expert of that on the call. So Peter, if you want to dive into layout a little bit.
Well, yeah, I'm familiar with layout, but yeah, I work in the visual development department, and you heard Jillian was talking about front end and back end departments, and we also heard at the beginning you mentioned what was it, story department, right? So yeah, at the very beginning of the process, I like to think of this part of the process almost like when I was in junior high, we had to read a book and draw a book cover for it, right? So it was basically taking ideas and stories and making a picture out of that, and in a kind of way, that's kind of what I feel what we do, right? We take a story, we take an idea, and at work we have, there's writers and there's, story, there's people that are very well versed in story. They're literary artists, these people, masters of their craft. And then in my department, in the visual development department, we start to add pictures to those words to see if what could this look like? What does a character look like? And it as that grows, as there's a lot of things that get illustrated in the art department that don't go anywhere, because there might be changes with story or with art. But when it starts to grow and people start to respond to it, then the art gets more and more complicated, more and more refined, and that's when we start to grow these ideas, both the words and the images, grow them together, and it just turns into a huge movie with hundreds of artists working on them in every single capacity. But yeah, in my part of it, in the visual development part of it, it's at the most basic level. It's just going to work and drawing every day and reading, thinking about story and what does that look like.
That's awesome. Thank you. So we're jumping around a little bit, so I hope y'all are following us on our pipeline. But so we went and circling back to layout, and then from layout, we have a couple of departments that funnel off of that. So we'll have animation. If there are any animators out there, hit us up. We're always looking for some animators. Those are the people who are really putting the movement into the characters and bringing those scenes to life. But then we need all of the magical effects that come with that final scene that you see. So we have effects artists that come in, and they're focusing on water and fire and wind, and think of trolls, all the sparkles that come in a scene. That is our lovely effects team. And then, you know, we have to have a shot that's lit. If we don't have our lighters, you're not going to be really seeing anything. And so the lighting team is really directing your eye in the way to where to look on the screen. And then we have a couple of teams that run the whole spectrum of the pipeline. So if you are technical in any sense, the technical directing team, the technical directors might be a good place for you to call home. They're helping support the pipeline in every department. And then we also have our production management that Jillian is very familiar with, that is coming in and making sure we're hitting our deadlines, shots and work are moving through the pipeline to downstream departments. They're kind of the backbone of the whole production, making sure it gets done. So that's kind of a high level of all the areas. I think when you really dig into animation, you'll be shocked at the variety of careers that you can find. We have, you know, upwards of 15 plus departments just involved in a production. So yeah.
Thank you for walking us through that. It's a lot. So I hope you guys are following and digesting all that information. Peter, I have a question for you. Jordan asked, what do we look for? What do you look for in a portfolio for our interns or biz dev interns? And we're trying to offer more internships in that space, but let's just say, for argument's sake, if you were hiring somebody on your team who's at a junior level, I'm sure you've been a part of some process where you were looking at other people's portfolios. What would be some things that you would look for in somebody who was early in their career?
There's a handful of things. There's always like a basic foundation of you know what art is. I think I'm echoing here. But yeah, just an understanding of the art, of how you know, something when I look at students' work, they generally already have an idea of what they want to be, you know, and work in animation. So there's an understanding of you know, what makes that image, character design, composition, lighting, you know, creating an image that encompasses these things. Storytelling, you know, are the characters doing something? So there's an understanding of you know, a variety of fields, you know, anatomy, you know, drawing people, a little bit of architecture, a little bit of perspective, and having it. And when I'm looking at the work that the students show, you know, how much of that are they bringing to the table, and how much further do they have to go? That's usually what it is that gap. If somebody needs more time at school, you could see, you know, you get a feel for that. Some people are a lot closer, and then that's when they come into the studio. And you know, the way that I see it is, you know, it's just more, it's my experience is like, it's just more learning, more schooling at work, and you just keep building on those skills.
Absolutely, 100%. I totally agree. Thank you so much for giving us a little bit insight into your thought process. Question for the.
Did she freeze for everyone else? Okay. We'll give her a second. I think we can go through and answer a couple of questions that are in. Oh, there you are. Are you back, Rabia?
Sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Kind of.
Artists.
Rabia, do you want to put the question in the chat? We can't hear you right now. While we're waiting for her, Peter, a question came through of, do you think a 2D portfolio can supplement for a 3D based animation role? So I guess someone who has mainly 2D experience. do you think they can apply for a 3D role?
A 2D portfolio supplement, yeah, totally. You know, I think it's always great to see, you know, if everything somebody brings to the table. Drawing, yeah, drawing is you know, there's a lot of problem solving that goes into designing an image in 2D, and those are things that are required to translate something into 3D. Everything informs, you know, your final creation. So yeah, you know, showing 2D 3D together.
Yeah,
that's something that I've done. It's something that it helps.
I love this question. I'm going to throw this to the group. If you're an illustrative self-taught artist, how would you apply for a position in the animation pipeline? So I've hired a lot of artists who are self-taught. Some of our best artists have taught themselves. A few of them have never even gone to art school. One of the biggest pieces of advice I heard given out in a conference one time was, if you can do the drawing, the animating, the modeling for 8 to 9 hours a day, that's how you'll know it can be a really good fit for you. It's because when you think of it as a job, it's not 2 hours here and there. You are logging in every day and working on this type of craft for 8 to 9 hours over and over again. So if you don't get burned out, and if that makes you feel excited, I think, you know, your background doesn't necessarily make a difference. What we look for in portfolios, so this is where it's really good to connect with recruiters, and that's my opening to all of you to hit us up on LinkedIn after this, is we look for different things for every project. So getting familiar with the DreamWorks style, it's different than if you look at other animation houses. So knowing what it looks like to create art at DreamWorks is a key. Putting your best work first is always really important in a portfolio. So if you're thinking that as a recruiter or a hiring team, we're looking at upwards of 800 people for every application, you want to really hit us with your best stuff first. So that like piece that makes you go, wow, or your strongest stuff should be first. And then make it easy for us to look through your work. We don't want to have to do lots of clicks. We don't want to need to scroll through multiple websites. So make it easy for us as a team to go through your work. So anyone else want to chime in? Eileen, you've reviewed tons of intern applications.
Yeah, so for the our internship program, it's a little different than the full-time artistic positions and also our artistic training program. So for the internship program, we mainly look, I would say, at your resume. If you are an artist and you have a portfolio, that's great to include, and we can definitely see where your interests lie. But since right now we don't have artistic internships, we look at your resume, and a lot of questions that I get is, do I need to have work experience in entertainment, you know? And I want to say no. It could be definitely volunteer experience, internship experience, group project experience. I would say really highlight your transferable skills, because in our internship program, or actually in a lot of our teams and overall in animation, is very fast paced. And it's important to be flexible and adaptable. So kind of showing that in your resume goes a long way. Also, if you know you don't, or if you're not pursuing at any degrees in animation, within animation, that's totally fine. I would say something that would make you also stand out is if on your resume you're involved in an animation club like Women in Animation or Rise Up Animation or anything like that, put it on your resume. And if you're not, there's tons of communities out there, online communities out there that, you know, will definitely are offering so much that you can put on your resume. So that's what some of the stuff we look for when it comes to the internship program. When it comes to the artistic training program, a lot of it is what Alexis mentioned. So we definitely look more at your portfolio and your work versus your resume like we do in the internship program. So I won't go over too much on that. It's literally exactly what Alexis mentioned. It's just more on the junior side.
We've had a lot of questions around visas and if we hire international artists in our studio. And I would say this is kind of a case by case. I can't give you like a blanket answer for this. We very much do look at international candidates, and really what we're looking for is the artistic or creative or production skill set is what we're looking at first. And then we work with each individual person on figuring out, you know, what's the best way to hire them. So if you are someone who's international, please, you know, apply, reach out. We are very interested in talking with you. And then, you know, if we do get to a point of wanting to move forward, that's an individual conversation we have with each person. So Robbie is back.
I am, and now I'm nervous that my internet is going to crash again. I just really wanted to quickly add to that as well, because I know there's a lot of questions about this, and a lot of what we see is international students applying to our internships as well. And we've hired a lot of international students into the program. It's pretty, it's more simplified and easy if you have a sponsorship from the school that you're attending, and usually that would be a US-based school. So if your school is sponsoring you, you should be able to easily obtain an internship or a job really anywhere as long as you have that sponsorship. For internships, we unfortunately do not sponsor. However, for the roles, the other, like any other opportunity at the studio, like Alexis mentioned, it is on a case-by-case basis. We've sponsored plenty of people in the past, and so it is just depending on your situation in your case. So just make sure everything is up to date and you have all your paperwork, and then you can have that conversation with your recruiter when you get to that point. And then also with what Eileen was saying, I wanted to add to those of you who are in high school right now or about to graduate, you've either are waiting to hear back from your colleges or you kind of know where you're going, but you don't know how to kind of get that experience under your belt, right? Like, how do I get that first internship? Like Eileen mentioned, try to get involved on campus. Does that school have a animation student club? We've seen clubs called, like at Cal State Fullerton, there's a pencil mileage club. Some schools have a women in animation student chapter. If there isn't one, can you be the one to create that chapter at your school, right? So like, we're looking for people who like are actively getting involved in the animation community. And starting to build those relationships. I think getting involved in those type of clubs on campus are a great way to also get in front of studios who will come to your school and do information sessions and talks and portfolio reviews. Like, you're firsthand getting to meet those recruiters and artists. So try to get involved as much as possible. And then if you see any events in the industry around, there's CTN, there's Lightbox Expo. There's a couple of others that kind of happen within the local Southern California area. Try to go to those as much as you can. They're a great place to meet a lot of people, network with artists from all sorts of areas and backgrounds and different countries and different studios. And so they're a lot of fun. So try to go to those as much as possible. And if you can volunteer, that's something that you could put on your resume as well, right? Like, we always want to see your volunteer experience, experience where you took, a leadership opportunity at an organization. So all those things kind of count. All those things you can put on your resume as well. So
there was a question, Rabia, could you talk more about our HBCU program?
Yeah, Justice, thank you for that question. So we recently announced this, and the applications are going to be open for all of February, so all of Black History Month. We are super excited to launch this new program. It's called Launch, and we're basically helping 15 HBCU fellows launch their careers within the animation industry. This is specifically for students who are attending an HBCU or are a recent graduate of an HBCU. And HBCU stands for Historically Black College or University. If you're not sure if your college that you're attending or are about to attend is an HBCU, you can easily kind of like Google it, and the school's website should state it right away. If you don't find that information, I would encourage you to talk to like the Career Center, and they can kind of give you a little bit more information. But it is specifically for HBCU students, and it's going to be a virtual program, and it's an 8-week professional development program. So we will be meeting a couple of times every week to go through different workshops and sessions and executive speakers who are going to be sharing their journey as Black professionals, Black artists, how they overcame any adversities and challenges along the way, and what, basically helping you kind of find your footing the way they had to do that when they were in your place. So they have some amazing stories to share. So we have a great lineup of speakers for that. And every week we would be tackling like different topics. So identity in the workplace, maximizing your brand, the power of growth mindset or positive psychology in the workplace. So there's some really great topics in there that we're really excited about. So this is our first time launching this program, and we're super excited about it. The applications are open for the entire month. So you have all of February to apply. And it's a very short, easy application. We are partnering with our partners at HBCU 20 by 20 to roll out this program. And the application is on their website, and I see somebody linked it here in the chat. So go ahead and check that out if you are interested. Yes, Viva made a great point. At those industry events that I was talking about earlier, CTAN, Lightbox, there's a lot of recruiters that are hanging around. We actually every studio is going to have a big booth. And so it's a great place to learn more about internships, job opportunities. A lot of studios also do portfolio reviews. So it's a great place to get time with a recruiter and an artist to look over your portfolio and get feedback.
Can I answer a question that I see in the chat? There's one from Christina about transitions. Maybe you're not right out of college and you've been in a career for a little while and you're looking to get into animation. As someone who, like, production management has my heart forever, I have so many friends who became artists after having jobs in production management. So one of my suggestions is looking at the production assistant and production coordinator positions, because it really gives you an overview of all of the animation pipeline, and you can really see what you might be interested in. And I think Alexis might have brought it up earlier, like seeing if you really want to do that for 8 to 9 hours a day, because I do have friends who were story coordinators, and they would watch these board artists and go to their check-ins, and you're learning by just being in the room, even though your job is not being a story artist. That was by film school. I didn't go to film school, but I learned how to be a storyteller being in those rooms. And I have so many friends who transitioned to story artists and are now directors who did not go to art school. They learned by being PAs and then coordinators, and then got a story artist position, and now they're co-directors of movies. Like, there's definitely ways to continue those transitions.
Absolutely, 100%. Thank you, Jillian. In about 2 minutes, we're going to break out into breakout rooms, and there will be a Spanish speaking breakout room. So just wanted to give everyone that heads up that will happen. And I think you'll be placed automatically, so you don't really have to do anything to go into the breakout room. So awesome. Any other questions that we didn't cover, as we have 2 minutes together? I'm like going through the chat here.
So someone asked if they have limited availability or access to other like organizations or getting involved in the entertainment industry. What should they be doing? I think we look for that you're passionate about animation, so you can figure out how that looks around you. So if that's just creating an incredible portfolio or resume, that's okay. Like, we're not necessarily saying you have to be involved in every club or organization that's out there. Those are just some suggestions of other opportunities that you could explore. So I hope that answers Vivian's question.
I saw a couple of questions come through about our preferred portfolio websites. I don't think we have a preferred one. I mean, every recruiter has their opinions on each one. But Alexis, Jillian, do you have you seen other platforms that you prefer over?
Yeah, I would say that's a great question. So when you're thinking about portfolios, the platform we're viewing your portfolio on doesn't really matter to us. It's how easy it is for us to access that portfolio. So I can't tell you how frustrating it is when you get super excited about a candidate. You go to click on their reel and you need a password, and that person has forgotten to send you a password. So my rule of thumb is your portfolio should only be password protected if you are sharing NDA, which means work from other studios that's not publicly available right now. So anyone who's a student, a recent grad, really should not be putting a password. Like, think of it as you want it the easiest way possible for us to get your work and share it with other people. Again, if you're a viz dev artist or story artist, making sure we're not having to click through multiple links. So whether it's everything's on one page, so we can just scroll up and down. If you're putting a reel together, making sure that the link works, that it's the first thing we're clicking on. We're not having to go to a website and search for where your reel lives. Think of it as like, if you were to give it to your grandma, would she be able to figure this out without you needing to walk her through it? Because again,
you're calling me a grandma?
Not at all, but it should be that easy, because we're looking at 800 people at a time, and you want us, or more, like you want us to have a pleasant experience when we're going through your work and be excited for what you're showing us, and not frustrated because they just had to click 15 different things to find your work. So that would be my advice. I don't really care where you put it, just make it easy for us to view it.
I have one, I would say maybe a bonus, and it doesn't apply to every job or every person. It's if you have enough to show that if you're applying for a layout position and you have layout work, have a reel that's your layout reel, or have a reel, you know, if you can do some quick editing, put what you're applying to, that work at the front. Because that's always nice when I go to a website and it can have multiple skills, but I can go, oh, they applied for layout, I'm gonna watch their layout reel. Peter, did you have something?
Talking about, continuing with what you're saying, something that I found is you know, if you look at the job descriptions on LinkedIn, you could see what some of the requirements are for positions. And if you're if you're creating a portfolio for that, you could see what you should be showing as well. And you can also focus on what it is to study. You know, I'm coming at it from a point of view of you know, if somebody's self-taught and not has that instruction from a teacher, you could see that there's certain things that you need, and have your portfolio show that. Your passion does come across in the images you create, and make sure that these things are well organized and simple, and that really makes a huge difference when we're looking at so much stuff. Clean, organized, and you don't want to have things that you're not 100% on
Before the last,
representing you.
Yeah, the last little thing, I think we're all getting sent to our breakout rooms as students who are coming out of school, that you might not know what your specialty is going to be yet. Like I see a lot of websites or portfolios that have story and biz dev and character design. And my advice to you would be, really do figure out what is, like, try your hardest to figure out what is that one area you want to focus on. Because if you're spending your time split across 3 or 4 different types of roles, and you're trying to compete against people who are spending 100% of their time on one of them, they're going to have more work and stronger work to show for that one specific type of role. So that's what I encourage students who are unsure, like what do you have the most fun doing right now, and focus in on that area. You can always pivot down the road.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's very common, especially when you're in college, to be excited about a lot of different things, and put that you're a board artist and a visitive artist and a modeler like right at the top. But realistically, what a recruiter will be hiring for is not to do all three things. They're going to be looking for that person's, let's say it's story. They're going to be looking for a storyboard artist who is passionate about the story. They're only going to look at the boards on your portfolio, most likely. And they want to see a portfolio that just screams story, like this person lives and breathes story. So you want to be that person, because chances are if you're not doing it, there's somebody else who is. And so looking at a portfolio that's kind of confusing, we don't really know what you want to do, what you're passionate about, like just try to make it as clear as possible. And bottom line is just make it easy for the recruiter, make it easy for the artist who's reviewing your portfolio. Does it make sense? Is it organized? Is it easy to navigate? Is it accessible and not password protected where it's not needed? Can we find your contact information? Oh my gosh, there's been times where we looked at great portfolios and I'm like spending multiple clicks trying to find your email, or it's such a missed opportunity for that person who has hid that information somewhere. Or we've seen portfolios where people forgot to include it altogether. Like, how do we reach you, right? So make sure you have a section dedicated to like, about me, this is who I am, here's my resume in a PDF, email, phone number, that's it. Awesome. So there's a lot of other really, really great questions coming in, and I want to make sure that we can get to all of them because we only have a few minutes left. There's a question from Belen about any advice about things that someone should or shouldn't do as a new hire in the art areas that you think someone might not know.
I feel like we could spend a whole panel on this.
This is a loaded question. There's so many things. It's not just limited to the art areas, right? It's really in any job what you should or shouldn't do starting out in a new role. It's something that you will come to learn the more experience you get in the workplace, right? And that's why like things like internships are so important, because you can kind of experience the workplace without having any accountability, right? No one's going to blame you if you send mistakenly like a huge email blast to everyone on copy, including the president, so there's things that you should and shouldn't do. A lot of it has to do with professionalism, the way you handle certain situations, the way you handle feedback, right? Those are all the soft skills that are required in order to be successful in any role. For those of you who are, students, I highly encourage you, if you haven't, any jobs that you can get, in retail, hospitality, customer service, those are great places to get an opportunity to build those skills in. Production is a huge department at any studio. And a lot of it is very customer service focused. And actually, a lot of our, producers and hiring managers for production, when they're hiring a PA or a production intern, they love to see retail experience on your resume. It really builds a lot of character. It builds so many skills. I did a lot of retail when I was in college, and even though I hated it at the time, like it made me a better worker, a better professional. How do you compose yourself in front of other people? How do you respectfully respond to an angry customer or somebody who's frustrated? How do you handle those certain situations just on the spot, right? So try to get, other work experience. They are relevant. You can transfer those skills over into the animation industry. So I'll stop there, but does anybody else want to add anything to that question? There's just so much there.
I know. I think the biggest mistake I've seen for people coming out of school or into the early career space and into the professional industry is and this is tying completely back to the beginning of our conversation, coming in thinking they know everything they need to know. If you really think about the first time you're stepping into an internship, an early career space, or even just a new job, you're not supposed to know everything. Like you had the skill set to get you in the door, and then you're learning the job and the requirements and your responsibilities as you go, and you're building your craft. I think the people who I've seen not be successful and be able to stay at a studio are the ones who came in and had the attitude of, oh, I know, I got to DreamWorks, I know everything, I'm the best. And then they stop learning the day they start. Whereas we think of it as you're starting here and we're going to help you over the time you're with us. And here, like, we're really going to elevate you as a professional, as an artist, as a person. And so I would say, don't shut the doors to learning as soon as you get an opportunity. Sorry, Jillian, I think I cut you off.
Oh, no, all good. I definitely agree with that. One of my mantras in production management was, it's okay to say, I don't know, but I'll find out. Like, you don't have to have the answer right away in the room. But my other two would be time management and open communication for artists, and on the other side with overhead and production. Just knowing if you get an assignment and you know that it's gonna take a lot out of you, then being open with your team so that they're aware of how much is on your plate. And instead of saying, I just got to push through and I'll figure it out. Like, we're a team and we're trying to do it together. So knowing how much time you have and what you're capable of within your own time limits, and then be open communication with all of that with your team.
Yeah, as a follow-up, Belen just mentioned she heard about being careful about stepping on toes, people not wanting your opinion or feedback. I feel like you got really bad advice there. If you're being hired, if you're being invited to a meeting, you're there for a reason. And it's because they want your opinion, because they want your feedback. And you're right, as long as you do it respectfully, then that's great. I mean, you're already halfway there. So please don't feel like, oh, I'm coming on as a newbie. I really would take that word out of your vocabulary completely, because you were hired for a reason. Awesome. So, oh yes, Peter.
Yeah, it's a very collaborative environment, and also being able to accept feedback is super critical. The thing about this job, my job is like it's a combination of personal and professional. It's a really weird mix of my creative, the thing that drives me, my passion, and then watching something get ripped to shreds by, the director and my boss, which is, the production designers. It doesn't feel good, but it's part of the process, and that's the way these things get made. And it's just the opportunity. What it is what I found is the reason it hurts is because I'm learning. There's something that I missed, and that is something that, as long as I've been doing that, I've started in 1999. It's never gone away. But it's also been a 20-year education in art by some of the best teachers in the industry. So yeah, that being able to take feedback and is super important.
I think that funnels nicely into the last question I've seen a lot of people ask of, how do we not lose faith in this industry when you can apply for jobs and feel like you never hear back? I would say, if this feels really like your passion and where you believe you're meant to be, just keep working at your skill set. I have hired so many people just in this last year that have been trying, 5, 7, 10 plus years of trying to get to DreamWorks, and they stuck with it. They took the feedback. They worked on their portfolio or their reel every time, and they finally made it. So I would say, don't lose hope.
Love it. Perfect ending, Alexis. Thank you so much. There's a question. Can you connect with us? Please do. All of our names are right here for you. Please write them down. Connect with us on LinkedIn. If you want to learn about more opportunities, the best way to kind of really stay up to date about what studios are posting and announcing is following them on social media. So we have our own Instagram and LinkedIn account. So DreamWorks Animation or at DreamWorks Careers on Instagram, so you can learn more. Our summer internships open up next Monday, I think, Eileen, right? I can be honest. Yes, next Monday.
Yes.
Internship.
Or
So
2 Mondays.
2 Mondays from now?
Yeah.
Okay, yes, 2 Mondays from now. I believe it's the 21st. So please apply and connect with us on LinkedIn. Feel free to send us a message. If you're in high school, you don't have a LinkedIn, that's okay. Create one today, create a profile and get connected with us. Thank you so much, everyone. And thank you to Peter, Jillian,